everyone, and welcome back to another episode here at Chloe's Catastrophes podcast, where we dissect crazy disasters and people's wildly inappropriate reactions to them. As always, my name is Chloe, your host, and alongside me here is our favorite co-host. Drumroll, please. Morgan.
Hey.
Today, we are also having a few surprise special guests joining us as we dive into our topic, so stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. Today we are looking into a tornado that ripped right through Plainfield, Illinois back in 1990. And this was not just any ordinary tornado. It was the first ever tornado greater than an F3 rating since records began in 1950 to occur during the month of August in the state of Illinois.
The Plainfield tornado was also the second most lethal tornado since 1950 to occur in the month of August in Illinois. And it approached from the northwest, while most tornadoes approach from the southwest. So this was not your typical tornado. This tornado remains the only F5 EF5 rated tornado documented in the United States during the month of August.
There are several examples of disaster representations from this event where the motives behind the image can be argued either ethical or unethical. To dive more into this, we look to our special guest, an ethics specialist, Footspitz Tootseed.
Footspitz Tootseed, how are you doing today? Oh, is he on here? Let's get him on here. There he is.
Hello, how are you? How are you? It's so nice to be on Chloe's Catastrophes today.
Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
It's very nice to have you, Mr. Tootseed. So I hope you're familiar, but here on Chloe's Catastrophes, oh, my dog is here. Hello.
Oh, I love dogs.
We like to pick apart different representations of disasters and analyze their long-term effects and their ethical backgrounds. For our first representation, we would like you to look at this image of Brantley Butler. She was a survivor of the tornado, the Plainfield tornado, and she's holding her favorite photo of her brother, Ed Butler. Ed had recently died, but he became a quadriplegic when his garage fell onto him during the 1990 Plainfield tornado, very sadly.
Oh, wow. Butler, funny name. Well, I'm an ethics specialist, so this to me is very unfortunate. By showing a picture of a family member clearly grieving, you're not only exploiting the victim's emotions, but also pulling at the heartstrings of the viewers. All aspects of this photo, from the lighting to the expression on the woman Brandy's face, they lead the audience to feeling pity or loss for someone that they do not even know.
So, are you saying that the photographer was intentionally trying to make the intended audience feel sad, guilty, or depressed?
Yes, exactly. By including the sister in the picture of Ed, rather than just a photo of Ed himself, the photographer is appealing to the audience's sense of pathos, which is a rhetorical tool that purposefully evokes a certain emotion in an audience to reinforce the overall theme, hopefully being captured through the image. This photographer also had to pull one more trick out of their sleeve by adding a grieving woman to the photo. This image now makes us feel far more emotional than we would have had the photographer focused solely on the framed image. Sex and gender roles have held tremendous tolls on disaster representation since the beginning of history. And a common pattern I've noticed as an ethical specialist myself is that people respond differently to representations with women or children opposed to representations of just men.
We really appreciate your perspective here, Mr. Tootseed. That being said, we would like to ask you another question. Do you believe there are ethical implications within this representation?
Ethical, unethical, tomato. It's hard to completely determine whether something is ethical or not because ethics revolve around personal opinions and moral reasoning. What I can tell you, however, is the image we are analyzing is obviously very theatrical and staged. There is use of dramatic lighting on a portrait scale, where the viewers see Brandy head on as if we are making direct eye contact with her. These observations lead me to believe that this photo is consensual, as if Brandy wants the viewers to know her grief and pain, and therefore there are ethical implications in this photo.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tootseed. I always assumed that negative photos such as this one had to be unethical because of the message they were sending. I never really considered that Sometimes the photographer wants their image to send a sad message. Thank you for opening my eye to a new perspective.
Of course, Chloe. I have been a fan of this show for a long time now, and it's an honor to be brought on as one of your special guests. Thank you too, Morgan. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Oh, bye.
Wow, I love his accent. He is so funny.
Me too. He was pretty insightful and smart. Next up, we've picked up a few more images and stories to analyze from the 1990 Plainville tornado. These photos look more at the physical damage from the disaster itself and the immediate effects and responses.
But then the image is shown. Seen here, we get a good glimpse of just how powerful and devastating this tornado really was. This event was not taken lightly by those with direct contact to the physical repercussions or the personal tragedies faced. This is definitely not something to extort or joke about. There are several recorded injuries and fatalities in the wake of the Plainfield tornado.
Not to mention, the survivors struggled deeply from loss of family members, pets, homes, and belongings. In the image, we see people scavenging for anything left in the rubble of their once loved homes. This is a disturbing representation of the Plainville tornado, and I'm beginning to wonder if this photographer made an ethical decision or not.
Well, remember what Tootsie said, Morgan. Just because a photo is sad does not mean it always is unethical. However, this particular image seems less consensual than the last. Why don't we bring this to the attention of Chloe's Catastrophe's next special guest, Benjamin Dover?
Thank you. Please call me Ben. Ben.
Well, Ben, we're happy to have you on our show today.
Thank you so much. I'm a huge fan. Now, what am I going to be looking at today?
Well, hold on now, Ben. We haven't told you about the disaster we're analyzing today.
Nah, it's fine. I was listening to you guys through the door, so just show me the representation.
Okay.
Okay, I think to start, we have to focus on what kind of impact this photo has on its viewers. Like, what are the consequences threatened by taking this photo? Does it look like the photo was harmful or helpful to the people captured?
Well, we just discussed the importance of consent when it comes to disaster representations and what lack of consent means for deciding if something is ethical or not. Obviously, in this picture, everyone has their backs turned to the camera.
Right. Well, conducting a formal analysis of a disaster representation image, it's essential to notice the angle of the photo being taken. In this specific example, the camera is located at about eye level, matching with those in the image. I'm assuming this was done to recreate the feeling of actually being there in this moment and looking at the destruction as if it were one of our own houses or our own neighbors.
Unlike the image we analyzed with Tootsie, where the photographer did a close-up shot of someone grieving, this photo was clearly taken from a much further away angle. You can't really see the people's faces. They're turned away from the camera. And even still, this photo is just as upsetting, despite us not really having that raw human reaction that we had in the first one. And I think that's a very interesting observation.
Well, clearly there needs to be more context before we can judge the ethical implications in this photo. To someone with no background knowledge of the disaster or this photo, there can be too much room for assumption. Mr. Dover, how does your opinion on this photo change if we tell you the people involved are a cleanup crew, not just the house owners?
The photographer also chose to photograph people coming together and cleaning up the town, which showcases how natural disasters such as tornadoes can sometimes bring benefit to an entire community, especially when it's all affected and forced to come together in recovery. The love that comes after a tornado is unmatched. Random strangers coming together, both affected by one big disaster. Why, that love radiates to me all the way over in Vegas.
It makes sense, though. When a group of people all have something in common, that thing will bring people together to create a better outcome.
Yeah, Ben, before you leave us today, we would like you to look at just one more image if you're able to.
Of course, I do love looking at the representations after all.
Based on what we now know about ethical representation, how do you feel about this final photo? What choices made by the photographer held a lasting impression on how people remember the Plainfield tornado today?
In this photo, a young girl is clearly grieving the loss of what could be her home, her family, or her pet. She's glaring at the camera as if she is saying, "Do not take a picture of me." She also has a blanket wrapped around her. Normally, these are given out by firemen as an emotional support or distress blanket. Her body language suggests she is deeply distressed, especially her facial expressions. She looks sad and seems to be going through this somewhat alone.
Oh. To take a photo of this girl at such a vulnerable state seems to be extremely unethical, especially because she's a child. If we look at the guy sitting next to her, would you say he was a family member or someone from the press?
At first glance, he appears to be a family member. However, if this is a family member, wouldn't the audience notice more emotions from the man as he comforts his alleged daughter? Instead, this man seems to be pointing at the camera, as if he's telling the little girl to look at it.
Oh.
We can infer that this man works for some sort of media platform that is doing coverage on the aftermath of the Plainfield tornado. Are you telling me a grown man is telling this upset child to look towards the camera so he can get one good shot of her grief for his job? That's very inconsiderate.
Indeed, it is. However, this is just another case of photographers only caring about getting the most heart-wrenching picture without caring about the actual victim or situation itself.
It's starting to seem that everything is unethical when it comes to photographs of disasters. Exploiting victims instead of documenting the disaster itself and the damage caused. They are more focused on a paycheck and bringing in the most dramatized, heart-wrenching picture and sharing it to the public for better publicity.
Oh. Sorry, girls. I've got some more urgent love business to attend to. You know what I mean. But it seems like you got the hang of it. All right. Toodles.
Wow, what an interesting fellow. But he made some pretty good points, though.
Yeah.
Photographing people in their height of grief and trauma just for personal publicity gain is extremely unethical and invading.
Yeah. There have been many times where I'm going through it. Not to that extent, but my sister takes a picture of me and I want to rip the phone out of her hand. So, how these individuals are staying so calm while being told what to do in a picture is just baffling.
I agree. As always, we want to share our condolences with the family, and there will be a link to our fundraiser down below. Please donate to the tornado victims to help them rebuild their homes. As always, like and subscribe.